你好，我叫 CJ, 欢迎回来, happy news, etc. Welcome back. We're picking up where we left off yesterday, learning Mandarin, with a teacher talk. Thanks for being here.
我是 Maggie.
And I'm Chris. Today we're going to be talking about age.
Right, it's quite common to ask someone's age in daily conversations, but it can be a little tricky. So in today's episode, we'll show you the different ways to ask about age in Chinese.
Yeah, and the potentially good news is that if you aren't Chinese or East Asian of some sort, Chinese people, when you go to China, will think you're about 25 until you turn gray and are 50 years old. So you will be a young person for much longer than you would be otherwise if you go to China.
So being 25 years old for like 25 years, right, in China.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, I only got away with it for about probably 18 years of people thinking I was 21 years old.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Anyway, here are the structures you need to know.
So in Chinese, there are two main ways to ask someone's age. The first one is to use the phrase 多大. The structure is quite simple, just a subject plus 多大. So if you are curious about the age of your Chinese friend, then you can ask 她多大?她多大? How old is she?
Yeah, or if you bump into someone you know and they're with their kid, you might say, how old is she? Or they're walking with their dog. You might say, how old is he, she, it, however you address dogs.
Right, because the phrase 多大 can be used to ask anyone's age, including dogs and cats and other animals. So just anyone's age.
Yes, something very close to Maggie's heart. Dogs and cats.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so, we covered people your age, kids, dogs. Can also be used for old people. Anyone, any age, you can say 你多大?
Yeah, right.
How old
and then the second way to ask about age is by using the question word 几. So the structure is the subject plus 几 plus 岁.
Yeah, this is specifically used for people under 10. Usually it's going to be used for asking about children's ages.
Right. So just imagine your colleague is talking about their kid being super energetic. Then you can ask 你儿子几岁?你儿子几岁? How old is your son?
And you hope the answer isn't, 17.
Okay. It's also the age of being super energetic, huh?
Yeah, different kind of energetic. Now that we talked about how to ask for someone's age, let's talk about how to answer that question.
Well, it's quite simple. The basic structure is subject plus a number plus 岁. So, for example, I can say 我的狗3岁. 我的狗3岁. My dog is 3 years old. Or 我37岁. 我37岁. I'm 37 years old.
7.
And an interesting detail here is when the number is over 10, you can actually drop that last word 岁 to mean, meaning years. And it's still clear that you are answering the question, even without that word.
Right. So I can say 我的狗18. 我的狗18. My dog is 18. Or 他爸爸60. 他爸爸60. Her dad is 60.
Yeah, so once you get past 10, you can leave off the sui. Also, probably worth mentioning here, in China, people think 60 is really old, and people over 60 are really old people.
Yeah, right. But I think nowadays the age is moving to like 70, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, the and the retirement age is coming up too. But yeah, it's a slow process.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so although asking about age is pretty common and universal, some people don't like to directly share their age, so there are some more indirect or polite ways to ask about age in China.
Right. And one of the most common indirect way is to ask what year was someone born. And the person might answer
Clever.
like, I was born in 1988.
Yeah, and then you need to back calculate. Say, oh, okay, now I know your age. But actually, the age doesn't ever need to be said. And another indirect way that I've been asked my age is kind of by narrowing it down to a span of 10 years. So I had a friend that I play badminton with ask me, 你40几? Meaning you were 40 what? And when I told him, you know, I was 37 at the time, he's like, oh, yeah. You play like you're in your 40s. Right?
Oh, okay. Sometimes this kind of question is really hurting, huh?
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's quite common for Chinese people to ask about each other's Chinese zodiac sign.
Okay.
Yeah, if you ask someone, you know, what's your sign, then if you have a very good knowledge of the system overall, you can guess their age because the cycle goes around every 12 years. So if someone says, I'm born in the year of the tiger, and you have it all memorized,
What's your zodiac
you
sign?
know that means they could be 3 years
Aquarius.
old or 15 or 27 or 39 or 51 or 63 or 85 or 97. I think that's all the years of the tiger that currently exist. And, you know, you can probably narrow it down from there. You can eliminate 3 and 97 right off the bat.
Maybe 85 as well.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of these numbers.
But yeah, again, some people really like you say your year and they're like, oh, you're this old. And you're like, wow, how did you do that?
Yeah, just in a second, they know the exactly age. They can do the math really quick.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm never going to devote that much space in my brain to memorizing the Chinese zodiac system.
I'm a Chinese, but I can do that. Yeah, some people can do that very well. But here's one more interesting thing to note is that in some parts of China, people use the concept of 虚岁. It's just a traditional way of counting age, and this often makes their age 1 or 2 years older than their actual age. So that's the tricky part. It's 1 or 2 years older. I don't even know the specific rules of that.
Yeah, it's something like counting the year that you were, you know, in your mother's womb as 1 year of your life. And then something to do with Chinese New Year. Everyone becomes a year older on the day after Chinese New Year. But yes, again, I'm kind of a little bit lost on exactly what it means because it seems to mean different things to different people.
Yeah, right. On social media, sometimes I can see people post it like, well, I was born in 1988. I'm a dragon, and now I'm 38. Well, and there are a lot of comments said that, no, you are just 37.
Yeah, I've had this happen with a few people where I thought we were the same age, and it turned out I was a year older than them. I think you are actually one of them.
Well, okay, but I'm using my real age. I think in larger cities in China, people tend to use their real age.
Yeah, it's definitely more and more common. I think the only place you might see this is if you have a small child and you're talking to grandparents on the playground.
Yeah, right. Okay, so a lot of age. Asking about age and answering about age is just a lot of information involving a lot of math to do.
Yeah, and if you've made it to the end of this episode, congratulations. You are 1 year older in China.
Okay, so that's all for this teacher talk. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I don't think that's right. Ooh. Okay, well, in that case, 我把35
Hi everyone, 我是 Maggie.
And I'm Chris.
And in this episode of Teacher Talk, we are looking at how to say my company in Chinese.
Many Chinese learners would guess
公司
我的公司, my company, right? But that's not what native speakers usually say.
Well, the natural expression is 我们公司, literally our company.
And being honest, this one took me about 10 years to work up the nerve to use it. No one ever taught me this. And I just heard people around me saying this. And I thought, okay, maybe only Chinese people can say this.
Okay.
I'm a guest here. But then I said, oh, okay, our school. I said, 我们学校. And I waited for someone to kind of correct me, and no one did. And then I found out perfectly normal. This is what everyone does, even foreigners.
Right, just very authentic Chinese.
Okay, so the structure we are dealing with here is going to be a pronoun, and then the word men to make it plural, and then an organization. That's going to be the pattern that we follow in all of these things, talking about the groups we are a part of.
Yeah, right. So, for example, 你们公司, that's your company. Or 我们班, that's our class. And 我们学校,
我们学校
our school.
Yeah, and so this sounds natural, right? There are many cases in English where you would say the same thing. But so in Chinese, there's going to be two different situations where you would use this. One of them will seem quite natural in English. One of them will seem a little bit weirder. The first one being when the listener is included in that pronoun, as in you and I equals we.
Yeah, so just imagine an older employee is introducing the boss to a new employee. Then they would say, 他是我们公司的老板。他是我们公司的老板 He's the boss of our company. So they both belong to the same company. They are working for the same boss. Or a teacher can introduce a new transfer student to other students, saying like, 他是我们班的学生。他是我们班的学生。He's a student in our class. They are all in the same class.
Okay, so that one makes a lot of sense. The speaker and the listener are both part of the group. But the second situation is when the listener is not included in the pronoun, but you still say we.
Yeah, let's say an English major speaking to a Chinese major. 那个人不是我们学院的老师。那个人不是我们学院的老师。That person is not a professor from our department. Or when someone talks about their own workplace to an old friend. 我们公司有2个中国人。我们公司有2个中国人。Our company has 2 Chinese employees.
Yeah, and this is a possible sentence that I might say in English, but it's also possible in English I might say my company has 2 Chinese employees, and that's just not allowed in Chinese.
Yeah, it sounds like you are the owner of that company. 我的公司.
Yeah, I guess that's the only time you're able to say that. You can say my college, my company. If you're the big boss who started those things, you're the president.
Yeah.
Yes, so unless you own the company, you're going to always need to put a men to make it plural after the pronoun, woman, and then school, company, class, whatever that group might be.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Just use the 门. And besides that, here's another very important point to remember. When you are using this structure, just don't use 的 between 我们 and the institution.
Yeah, in a previous teacher talk, we talked about how you can drop the when talking about people, not things. Like 我爸爸 to mean my dad. But then how you shouldn't say that about things like 我书 for my book.
Water,
that's a very unnatural thing to say.
Yeah, but this is the exception, 我们公司. So institutions are treated more like groups of people than just things. So you can and you should drop the 的.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just a thought that I am having, that something that comes up over and over again is how Chinese loves balance.
Okay, so 我们 plus 公司, huh?
Yeah. 2 on this side, 2 on the other side. Okay, that's perfect, right? That's 4 characters, 2 plus 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose that doesn't work for 我们班, but
Right,
the rest of them, it lines up pretty well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's your company, your school, restaurants, those all work that way. But you can't say something like our bathroom, 我们洗手间 would be really weird, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. You don't belong to any bathroom.
Yeah, you're not a part of any specific bathroom. You can use whatever bathroom you want.
Yeah, right.
Even if there is one bathroom at your company and we all use it, we are not part of that bathroom.
Yeah, right. So it has to be an institution in that structure. It can't be just a place or a building or anything else. Just has to be an institution.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so what I would say is, like, all of these constructions are possible in English. It's just that in Chinese, it's going to be more frequent that you're using this collective idea. And, you hear a lot about individualism, collectivism between Chinese, English, the West, the East. Yeah, I think everyone can be individual and collective, but I've heard a lot of leaders at my school give speeches about how you're always a part of something bigger. If you are at our college, you're a representative of our college at the larger university. If you leave the university, you're a representative of that university. And when you leave China, you're always going to be a representative of China. And so I think there's a little bit of that at play, that, like, you're always a representative of this larger thing. And so
Yeah.
Perhaps that's why we're always going to be using plural. I don't know. This is my speculation at the end of our teacher talk. It's not grammar.
I don't know the reason as well, but I think your experience is quite helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's remember to put a men on it.
Yeah.
And drop the
Okay.
duh.
And that's all for this teacher talk. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Large groups, it seemed like. You're showing a new colleague around and introduce the boss. How would you say it naturally in Chinese? 他是我们公司的老板. 他是我们的公司的老板. That's funny. All right, I think we can knock them all out.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yin.
And I'm Chris. And in this teacher talk, we're going to be talking about social life, specifically how social interactions in China tend to go when first meeting someone or when seeing maybe an extended family member for the first time in a while.
Yeah, like when you meet someone's auntie for the first time and she hits you with, "Are you married yet? Are you doctor yet? You have a kids yet?" Yeah, some kind of like a list of personal questions.
Yeah, or my favorite, how much money do you make per month?
Yeah, this question just come fast with no warming up, no small talk, just straight to the point.
Yeah, and so this is really a difference of approach. So my question to you, Yan, is do Chinese people ask each other these same questions?
Yes, absolutely. Because my relatives ask me the same stuff, the same question every time I go home during the Spring Festival. Every year, same question, same people.
Okay. Yeah, that makes me feel better, honestly, because sometimes I feel like quite a spectacle. Like, hey, come see this zoo animal. What is this weird guy doing here in China?
Yeah, it's not like that. I think this is actually a really typical kind of Chinese style caring. Yeah, people ask you these questions because they're curious about you or they just want to show that they care about you. Yeah, I know sometimes it could feel super personal and even hard to deal with, but behind it, it's a way of saying that, oh, I want to connect with you. I want to connect with the zoo animal. Not just joking, but yeah, I want to connect with you.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, then this is in contrast to, talking about the weather or the sports scores, which I personally don't care much about. Although, Chinese people do love mentioning, man, it's so hot today. Oh, it's so cold today as well. But it's not the first line of defense, right?
Yeah, the bad news is when Chinese people start talking about the weather, it's often not real small talk. They also don't care. I can say that it's like they're trying to fill the awkward silence. It's more like saying that, oh, I'm trying to be polite, but I'm not sure what to say. I'm sorry. And of course, for some Chinese people, breaking the silence isn't a problem at all. They've got their own special way of starting a conversation. Yes, and this is what we're going to talk about. They have a rapid fire question list.
Yeah. So the questions you're going to encounter, and you'll encounter them so many times that there's even, you can go on Reddit or Google image search and see some t-shirts that people, meme shirts of the 7 questions. Here are the answers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you're never going to have to speak in China again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like, yes, work, married. And very funny thing is that everyone in China just agree on these same questions. Yeah, somehow the entire country is sharing the same script. And there are some classic ones that you definitely hear when you're in China, like, which country are you from? And usually this is followed by another question, like, which country is better, yours or China? And then, like, how long have you been in China? And, like, what else?
Yeah. Are you here to work or study? Are you used to the food yet?
Uh, okay, are you married yet? Do you have a boyfriend or girlfriend? And if yes, is he or she Chinese?
For sure. Is he or she Chinese? And then if not, you're just kind of like, too bad.
Oh, you should have found a Chinese person.
Yeah. And of course, the how much money do you earn question. And this one is kind of shocking at first, but I think it has an interesting origin in that during the planned economy phase of China in modern China, 70s into the 80s, every job had fixed salaries. And so if you're a year 1 teacher, you made this much money. If you're a year 1 engineer or a year 3 engineer, you make this much money. So actually the personal feeling of how much money you earn kind of didn't exist at that time.
Yeah, but they have been asking these questions like for, I don't know, like 5 decades. And these questions still catch people off guard. Yeah, like me. Like, don't ask me this, please.
Yeah. And of course it's different now when people are working for private companies and people are making different amounts of money, and money one is kind of shocking at first, but the rest kind of maybe more than anything are just a little bit boring because you get them so much. I wouldn't say they feel overly personal.
Yeah, and I think people asking these questions doesn't mean that they are always like expecting a real or full answer. They're just trying to connect, or it's just a way to test if their assumptions about you or foreigners in China are real. I think younger generation are becoming much more mindful of privacy. So you're way less likely to hear something like, oh, how much do you make from them? So don't stress too much. It's not like every Chinese person is going to ask you this. And if you do get hit with one of these awkward questions, there are definitely some smooth ways to handle it.
Okay, so here's some ways to handle it without hurting anyone's feelings. And I know I said it was kind of annoying earlier, but I think answering honestly is great. I mean, especially when you first learn Chinese, it's quite nice that someone is carrying the conversation for you, and that it is a fixed pattern, and you just get better every time you go through this interaction.
Yes, and you have limited vocabularies and grammar to lie about yourself.
Yeah, and it might change like 5% each time, and you go, "Oh, what was that word?" And then, and then you add that 5% to your vocabulary, and that's a great way to learn.
Yeah, or maybe you could keep the conversation to keep your answer playful. And there are some common replies in Chinese that you could use. I think the first one you would use a lot is 不多不少吧,不多不少吧. It means like not too much, not too little. So when someone asks you, how much money do you make, Chris? You could say 不多不少吧. Yeah, not too much, not too little. The other one that you would use a lot is 不好说.不好说. It's like hard to say. And if someone asks you, oh, are you married yet? Do you have a boyfriend or girlfriend? You could say 不好说. Hard to say.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I use this one a lot when people ask me how long I've been studying Chinese, because my Chinese is okay, but it's not. I took my first Chinese class in 2006, so it's not 19 years good. So sometimes I'm just like,
so it's actually 不好说.
Yeah, I'm like, 不好说. I've started and stopped a lot. I can't really, I don't know the exact number of years I've studied.
Yeah, on and off.
Yeah. And then the third thing you can do is flip it on them, ask them questions instead. Something like, what about you? One of the first things people learn is saying, 你呢? Yeah. And you? Just like after any question that you answer, you can flip it on them by hitting them with a 你呢 afterwards.
Yeah, it's like pulling the Uno reverse card. 你呢?
Yeah. It's a quick and easy one. And what I find is that people are pretty open and will tell you all of the answers to these things. Of course, you probably can't do that on what are you doing in China? I mean, I suppose you could even do it. What are you doing in China? Are you working or studying? That question.
My family is here.
Yeah, exactly. So that is an overview of the questions you're probably going to be hit with when you meet people in China, the Chinese Inquisition, as I like to say. But if you get tired of these questions, I have a solution for you. Final solution is to have a kid, because then all the questions change. Yeah. And all the questions are no longer about you. All the questions are about your kid. How old is your kid? Is he or she in school yet? Why isn't she wearing more clothes? And so then you get a whole nother look into Chinese language and Chinese society.
That sounds like a last resort. Yeah, and then you could have your kids like handle all of these questions for you, maybe, if their Chinese is good enough. And just to always be ready, don't forget to use all the tips we've shared today, and make sure that your kids listen to this teacher talk as well, so they could handle it for you.
Very funny.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
In China, personal questions like income are usually asked by younger people. Maybe everyone's asking these questions, it seems. Not a particularly common question in the United States to ask when you first meet somebody. But I think answering honestly makes sense. I'm curious if that question, how much of this holds true. I don't know if any of our viewers are out there in China. I'm also curious if you're out there. Thanks for being here. What kind of content, if you're consuming content in Mandarin, are you consuming? Do you have a favorite show, a favorite cartoon? I'm trying to find something I can watch with subtitles that might be informative and help me with the education process, learning Mandarin. In any case, I want to thank you for being here. This was a good episode. We're going to pick back up tomorrow with a little bit more. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Find some time to smile, and we'll see you again tomorrow. 再见. Cheers, everyone.